We are looking at question 29. Let me go back a sentence or two. This is about Michelangelo's statue of David in Florence. Michelangelo took on the giant with zeal and finished the statue in just 2 years. The statue's form and posture echoed the proportions of classical Roman sculpture, but its expressiveness and level of detail has reflected Renaissance sensibilities. And our choices are all different forms of that same verb. So we have choice A is no change, that's has reflected. Choice B is reflected. Choice C is had reflected. And choice D is will reflect. This is therefore a question about verb tense, or how verbs change depending on when they take place in time. Let me give you our 3 top tips for verb tense questions. Top tip number 1. Conjugate in context. The rest of the sentence will often give you context clues. A date in the past or future will signal the need for the past or future tense. And another great source of context leads me to top tip number 2. Match nearby verbs. Look for other verbs nearby, because they'll usually be consistent within the paragraph unless some kind of time transition is being described, like, although I once hated Brussels sprouts, today I love them. That shifts from past to present tense in the course of one sentence, but that sentence gives us a frame to understand why that shift takes place. But with that caveat in mind, most of the time when you see other verbs, they'll provide valuable clues for you. Finally, top tip number 3, general facts are usually described with the simple present tense. If a statement is true regardless of time frame, use the simple present tense, like, deadly nightshade is a poisonous plant. That's a general fact about the plant. It doesn't need to be in the past or any other tense, because it was true in the past, it'll be true in the future, and it's true now. Okay, now, armed with that knowledge, let's go back to the passage and take a crack at the question. Take a moment here if you want to pause the video and see if you can solve this question without me. Alright, let's do it. I refer back to one of our top tips. Let's look at the nearby verbs and see what we can learn. So in this paragraph alone, I see took, finished, echoed, right? All the other verbs in these 2 sentences are in the past tense. And in our target sentence, I don't see anything that would require a shift from one tense to another. The author is describing first the form and posture of the sculpture, and then the expressiveness and level of detail. Because the other verbs are all in the past tense, I feel confident that this sentence takes place in the past. And that's enough to take out choices A and D. Because has reflected is present tense. When you see a 2-verb phrase, look for the helper verb, because that will tell you the tense of the phrase. And choice D, will reflect, is future tense, which is, again, not the past. So that leaves us with choices B and C, reflected and had reflected. And I would say again to look at the context and match the other verbs. The other verbs in this paragraph don't use had. And we use had plus a main verb to show that an action is complete, that it's over and done with. So had reflected would suggest that the statue, which from the context of the paragraph we know is brand new, that statue had reflected Renaissance sensibilities, but perhaps no longer did. And it doesn't seem to me like the author is trying to make that kind of subtle, complicated point. I think this paragraph is just saying this statue was really cool, and it connected classical Roman and Renaissance values in a single artwork. I don't want to overthink this either. The other verbs don't have a helper, so our choice shouldn't either. So I'm going to knock out C, and that means that our choice is B, reflected. So this was my strategy. Once I realized that all the options were just the same words in different tenses, I checked the context, eliminated the outliers, and then I matched the tense with that context. It helps to fully understand how verb tense works in English, so if you want to know more, check out our quick guides for verb tense and mood under the tips and strategies part of our website. That's khanacademy.org/SAT.